Hello, friends, and welcome to NFL Daily. I'm Tom Downey. Alongside me is Mitchell Renz. We have a great show for you today. We've got Monday Night Football highlights, and it's Tuesday. That means it's our fantasy football show. Mitchell, I know you're excited about that one.
Oh, I can't wait.
This is the thing you love more than anything.
That's for sure.
Even food.
Maybe.
Well, if you guys have fantasy comments or questions, or really any comments or questions on the NFL, get them in the comments section. Producer Brett Scott can read them up behind the scenes, bring them up on air for you. We have a couple lined up from your Twitter questions. We have a little Ask Mitchell Live segment here coming in with some Twitter questions. Producer Brett Scott will also be mic'd up later on in the show when we do a live draft here on the Draft app. We'll get to that here in a little bit. That's set to go off here at 5:20 Central, 6:20 Eastern Time. Speaking of great apps like the Draft app, don't forget to download the Chat Sports app. www.chatsports.com/app. It's the best app if you're a sports fan. Stats, scores, news and rumors, everything you want all in one place. Get it today at chatsports.com/app. As I mentioned, today's show is brought to you by the Draft app. A free $3 entry when you go to www.draft.com/chatsports. Use the promo code chatsports. They'll give you some free money to bet. It's fun. We're going to show you all about the Draft app later on, and we'll have some more sponsorship from them in today's show. So download that app, www.draft.com/chatsports. To start the show, though, here we have some news and notes from around the NFL. We saw in Week 1, Tom Savage sucked. Deshaun Watson came in. Indications are he is going to start Week 2 against the Bengals. Marvin Lewis expects that to be the case. What do you anticipate seeing from Watson in his first true NFL start?
If he's healthy, I mean, he's a guy who really opened up the offense for the Texans we saw when he came in. He really gives that team the ability to run the ball. You see when a quarterback can run, it helps open up things for the pass, and also Lamar Miller got
another
going
element.
a little bit. But ultimately, that team's going to lean on that defense to win games. So if Watson can control the clock, they can lean on that run game. That's when the Texans are going to be successful, and I think that's what they go with Bill O'Brien.
Some signing news here. We're talking about kickers. The Eagles have added a new kicker. Caleb Sturgis has been placed on IR. They are going to sign rookie Jake Elliott, a fifth-round pick by the Cincinnati Bengals out of Memphis. He was on their practice squad. The Bengals went ahead and tried to keep him there. The Eagles say, hey, we need a kicker. They're going to take Elliott. So that's just something to watch for going forward. It's important for the NFL. You got to make those extra points now that they've moved that back.
No, you have to. I mean, kickers are people too. That's what I say. Maybe they're not as loved as much in fantasy.
I don't know if I would agree with that, but I am a terrible human being. So, injury time here. Danny Woodhead, he is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. This is a fantasy show today. Mitchell, what does this mean fantasy-wise for both Woodhead? What do you do with him? Who do you target elsewhere?
I think it's unfortunate for Woodhead. I believe he's 32 years old now, coming off of a major knee injury last year, and I think this is also what kind of led to the hamstring injury now. And he's not a guy I'm going to keep on my roster. Mm-hmm. I think a guy that you can target is Javorius. Buck Allen is his nickname, Buck Allen. He's also the guy I wrote about in my waiver wire article, which you guys can check out on Chat Sports.
And we'll get to a waiver wire segment in a little bit here on the show. The big injury, though, Mitchell, David Johnson is going to miss 2 to 3 months with wrist surgery. David Johnson in almost all drafts was your first overall pick, your second overall pick. Worst case, he was your third overall pick. This is a huge blow to his owners, and not exactly great news for the Cardinals in particular, or their handcuff play there.
Yeah, I don't really even know if there is a handcuff play for the Cardinals in this case. Yeah, I mean, if Chris Johnson can play, maybe Kerwin Williams, we'll see, but it's not an option that I'm going to be in. I think, for me, when I think about owners who had David Johnson, I think of the movie with Will Ferrell, Anchorman. I'm in a glass cage of emotions, and that's what I think of. So it's a tough break, but that's fantasy football, and that's part of the game. That's why we play.
Yeah, we'll bring up the panic meter here, then we're going to get to some Monday Night Football highlights for you guys. For me, the panic meter, without a doubt, is a 10. For both fantasy owners and the Cardinals. If you're Arizona, your offense is built around David Johnson. Now you don't have him for a significant portion of the season. I saw the one report that they were banking on him coming back for a late season push. I'm like, I don't know if they're going to be there without him.
Yeah, I don't see why you bring him back if he's not fully healthy. I don't know. He used that entire offense, and we saw Bruce Arians talk about a guy who could potentially get 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving. You lose that, man. Mm-hmm. They totally fell apart once he left. That's what we saw the Lions win then.
Highlights here coming up. Today's show brought to you by the Draft app. This is a fantastic app, Mitchell. And this, if you guys love daily fantasy like you do, we're going to let you go on your daily fantasy spiel here in just a minute. You guys have to download Draft. It's the new Snake Draft fantasy app. It highlights why I love live fantasy sports. It's the draft itself. It's my favorite part there. Draft lets you draft a team whenever you want, anytime. There's no worries about the salary caps, the waiver wires, none of that stuff going on there. And with these drafts, they take minutes to complete, if that. I mean, they are rapid fire. If you just need a couple of minutes, you got time to do a draft. www.draft.com/chatsports is the URL. Free $3 entry when you use promo code chatsports. I know you're all about the daily fantasy games.
Oh, I love it. And I mean, draft day is Christmas. It is my favorite day of the year. And the fact that I could do it literally every day, I could do it a few times a week. I mean, think about Christmas multiple times a day, really, if you want to. Super easy to use, and we already drafted a team, and we're going to draft another one, and I can't wait.
Yeah, we're doing that here in a little bit. About 15 minutes from now, we'll have a live draft here on the Draft app. Before we get to that, though, highlight time. Saints at the Vikings. This one's all you, Mitchell.
Off to Minneapolis, where Randy Moss, Ring of Honor, and blowing the opening horn. The return of Adrian Peterson in the new Saints uniform didn't go so well. He got the first carry of the game, which is the best of the night for 9 yards. He'd end the day with only 18 yards on 6 carries. The teams traded field goals until, with 4:15 left in the second, Sam Bradford finds Stephon Diggs wide open for an 18-yard touchdown. Bradford and Diggs would connect again just before the half to make it 16-6 Vikes. After the teams traded more field goals in the third, rookie Dalvin Cook helped Bradford and the Vikings open this one in the early fourth. Here's Cook taking one to the right side for a 32-yard gain. 3 plays later, Bradford would find his man Kyle Rudolph, would make a nice grab of the 15-yard touchdown, 26-9 Vikings. And just for good measure, late in the fourth quarter, the Vikes seal it as Cook bounces one to the outside for a big 33-yard gain, which allowed the Vikings to kneel it out of the victory. Cook had 22 carries for 127 yards in his debut, overshadowing Peterson's return and setting a Vikings rookie rushing record in the process.
Monday night was very stressful for me. I was clinging to a 20-point fantasy football lead. He had Michael Thomas, Dalvin Cook, and then on Monday night game he had C.J. Anderson, and it was the Broncos defense as well. It was a very stressful night for me to just slowly watch my lead dwindle away. It was actually Keenan Allen and C.J. Anderson on Monday night, so I won by 3. I barely won.
I was able to seal up a victory. If my Aunt Lenore's watching, I beat you, so 1-0 for the DOP.
Not a good showing from Drew Brees, and this is a very good Vikings defense. Only the 1 TD. The ground game was not great. Mark Ingram, when he's your leading receiver, and most of that coming in garbage time, that's not a great sign for the Saints offense.
Well, the Vikings are also very, very good at home. Last year they gave up only 18 points a game when they were home, so that Vikings defense is pretty elite when they're home.
I want to get to now a reaction poll here. Who was demand for this one? We mentioned how good the Vikings offense was. Sam Bradford was on fire. Dalvin Cook was on fire. Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, all these guys were sharp. So I'll let you answer this one first, Mitchell. Who was your demand in this one?
I think you almost have to give it to Dalvin Cook. I mean, he was a good running back. He really just kind of led the way for the Vikings to be able to play the game that they wanted to play. Sam Bradford played a safe game. Stephon Diggs had a great game. But ultimately, that team wants to lean on their running game. They want to lean on that defense, control the clock, keep Drew Brees off the field, and they were able to do that with the rookie. He impressed me.
He impressed me as well. I think there's some parallels here to the Thursday night game when the stat lines for Tom Brady and Alex Smith seemed reversed. That's what happened in this one. Sam Bradford, 346 yards and 3 TDs. Those are Drew Brees numbers, not what we saw out of Sam Bradford in recent years. Now, the offensive line was definitely better for Bradford. It could only go up, though. It was horrendous last year. So if this is how this Vikings offense looks, and caution here, I am a believer in Minnesota. This is also the Saints defense. Correct. It's a really bad defense.
It's very bad.
So we're going to try and avoid some overreactions, but this is some promising signs here for the Minnesota Vikings going forward.
Oh, absolutely. That offense played well. Kyle Rudolph, Stephon Diggs, Dalvin Cook. I mean, that seemed to be a pretty good trio, and ultimately they were impressive.
Head now to the other Monday night game. Remember, first week of the season, there are 2 Monday night football games. Chargers and Broncos in this one. We'll take you off here late in the first quarter. Trevor Siemian, he's looking, and he finally finds Benny Fowler in the back of the end zone for the score. 7-0 Broncos lead. First play of the second quarter now. Rivers checks down to Melvin Ingram. He goes up and over Simmons, the safety. Touchdown, Chargers. One more look for you. We're tied up here at 7-7. Extra effort there by Gordon to get in. Simeon looking again. He's going to tuck it and run. Juke out Joey Bosa. 14-7. Broncos lead here. Third quarter, Simeon deep to Demaryius Thomas. Great catch there by Thomas. Broncos threatening here. Simeon back to Benny Fowler. 2 TDs on the night for Benny Fowler. Go figure. And this here is 2nd and 19. Emmanuel Sanders does all of the work here. Made half the Chargers defense miss. Ends up picking up 20 yards for the first down. That leads to a field goal. It's 24-7 Denver. Fourth quarter, same score. Chargers don't go quietly into that good night. Adrian Phillips, the interception. LA takes over. And then Rivers to Keenan Allen back of the end zone. Here come the Los Angeles Chargers after Jamal Charles fumble. Very next play, Rivers to Travis Benjamin, who went deep. Touchdown. We got a ball game. Now, Denver missed a field goal. Chargers with a chance to tie. It's no good. It will show you on a look here. It was blocked by Shelby Harris. There is no overtime. Just got his fingers on the ball. The Broncos hold on for a 24-21 win in the final seconds to beat the Los Angeles Chargers 24-21. That Denver offense folded late. Their fourth quarter drives, a 3-play interception drive, a 2-play fumble drive, a 5-play missed field goal drive, a 3-and-out punt, and then a kneel. The Denver offense did everything they could to lose that game. The defense, and especially the special teams on that last play, were huge for Denver.
I think that's what we're going to see a lot from the Broncos. I mean, the Broncos are a team that lean on their defense, and I think we're just going to keep seeing that. So we'll see going forward.
Melvin Gordon looked really sharp early in the game for that first quarter. So then the Chargers got behind, and you could tell they kind of had to go away a little bit from Melvin Gordon. But I think especially for fantasy purposes, he's going to remain a big factor in that offense volume-wise.
Oh, absolutely. With Anthony Lynn now there as a coach, Anthony Lynn, when he was with the Bills, led the NFL in rushing, and even
they
the
just
Jets
run
from
the
2009
football.
to
They run
2014.
the football when Anthony was in charge. I have never been a huge Trevor Siemian fan, especially for the first 3 quarters. I thought he looked very good. I thought he did a very good job of moving around in the pocket. We saw that a couple of times, like on that touchdown run, and he was able to step and evade the pocket and then get past Bosa for the score. Demaryius Thomas I thought was sharp. C.J. Anderson was terrifying me because he was up, upwards of 70. They kind of went away from him a little bit late to try to get Charles more involved. He had that brutal fumble as well. I liked what I saw out of Denver. The Chargers put up a good fight. This should have been a much bigger win for the Broncos.
100%.
They almost blew that one. This brings us, though, here to our Who Was the Man in Chargers Broncos. A heart if it's Benny Fowler. Wow face if it's Trevor Siemian. A like for the Broncos defense. And then a ha-ha for the newest superstar, Sergio Dip. Everyone loved to hate on Sergio. I thought it was funny. And he handled it, by the way. He handled it as well as humanly possible. Like, afterwards on Twitter, he was having fun with it, and he had a tweet video that went up later. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, we'll show it to you here in a little bit here, but this was Sergio Dip's, his kind of debut on ESPN. It wasn't all that ideal here for what we saw out of Sergio Dip, and he is part of the ESPN Deportes, and ESPN is clearly not his or English is not his native language, and he had some issues with it there, but he handled it very well afterward. You could tell, and you know this too, Mitchell. This is not an easy thing to do.
Oh, I know all too well.
On-air work is not easy, especially when this is his big moment. You're on ESPN, a Monday Night Football game, in the one of the most critical moments for him. There's a lot of pressure there. So we're going to hear and show you here what happened with Sergio Dip for those of you who haven't seen it yet.
With you guys here on the field from up close, just watching Coach Vance Joseph from here. You watch him now on the screen. This diversity in his background is helping him a lot tonight. Quarterback at Colorado, defensive back in the NFL, and here he is having the time of his life this night, making his head coaching debut.
Well, that was the Sergio Dip segment there. I do feel bad for him. He handled it very well, so I feel good about him going forward. And I can tell you what happened there. When we had the weird moment of you see him on your screen, that's the producer in his ear saying, hey, Vance Joseph is now on screen, so he's just kind of fumbling a little bit. after the first half, or the first half of that segment, I thought it was actually fine. Like, it wasn't really all that bad.
Well, I mean, I can totally understand. I mean, sometimes you get in front of the camera. I mean, even me, I think we could do an outtake. And if we could do my bloopers alone just before these shows, I mean, Sergio, my man, I feel your pain.
Maybe we'll put together a special bloopers air package here of NFL by Chat Sports. My boy Cody Neighbors here coming in with a comment. Says, hey guys, Broncos pulled out a close one. That was a lot closer than it needed to be there, Cody. That was a very, very close game that when it was in the fourth quarter, I'm like, oh, this is going to be like a 12-point win,
but
a
still,
14-point win.
Good teams win those games, and it's one reason why I still don't think the Chargers have made it there. They're 1-9 in the last 2 seasons when games are less than 7 points. Until they make that step, you just can't really consider the Chargers really a contender in that division.
Kenneth here has a comment or a question for you, Mitchell. What about Steelers-Vikings this week? Comment.
I'm going to go with the Steelers, and it's good to see you, Kenny. But
it's a good matchup.
No, I'm excited about that matchup, but I still think are the Steelers home in that matchup? I believe so.
Yes, they're home.
Yeah, Steelers at home. Big Ben, when he's at home, man, he just puts up numbers. And that Steelers offense didn't look as good against the Browns as what I would have liked, but at home, they're going to put up some numbers.
And you know this from a fantasy thing. For whatever reason, Big Ben on the road, just not the same QB. It's completely different.
Yeah. Well, they also lean on the run game a lot more, and they weren't able to do that as much, but I believe he, from a fantasy football standpoint, averages 14 more points a game at home than he does on the road. So that's pretty amazing.
Folks, keep those comments and questions coming throughout the show. Once again, I'm Tom Downey. Follow me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney. This is Mitchell Renz. Follow him on Twitter at MitchellRenz365. His Twitter game is better than mine. I'm not going to lie about that one.
Maybe a little.
Maybe by like a lot. Lot little there. So what we have coming up here for you guys in just a few moments, we're going to do a live draft on the Play Draft app here. I'm excited about this one. It's you and me, producer Brett Scott behind the scenes, and then NFL Daily host Mitchell or Harris Rubenstein as well. Now, Harris doesn't know this. We're going to make fun of Harris, I think, during this portion.
We have to. He's not here.
Yeah, so if Harris makes a bad pick, we're just going to make fun of him. Now, he is a big Patriots fan. What do you want to bet he goes Brady first?
You think? I mean, I hope not. But, I mean, if there's anybody who we could probably hear from our studio, from his apartment, it's probably Harris. So there's no doubt that if we hear him making picks. But I mean, Patriots are playing Saints. I'll be honest.
It's a good matchup. It's a really good matchup. So this is what we'll have the draft up here for you in just a minute here. This is what it looks like on the app. Mitchell this is Mitchell's phone right here. This is live with the draft. After this wraps up, folks, we are going to have the waiver wire as well as the Ask Mitchell Live, hashtag Ask Mitchell Live. Mitchell's going to kind of play through this all here. I actually very much like the way this is set up, this draft app here. I've got to pull it up on my phone here next to me. There's the players, there's the queue. It's all very, very simplistic and easy to manage.
Oh, it's super amazing. Like, just being able to look through the players who I want, and then you can throw them in your queue. I mean, it's really simple. You just click on the player, and then, I mean, you can see right there it's there. And
yeah. Great stats on these here. The projections, some of the most recent games that he's gone through. I'm a big fan of the app, folks. This is www.draft.com/chatsports. If you use promo code chatsports, you'll get a free $3 entry. This is something that I love so much about fantasy football is the draft itself. You mentioned earlier it's kind of Christmas time. It's Christmas when it's a draft. Draft's always now here. And this, by the way, folks, is the highest rated fantasy app in the iOS store or the Play Store for you fellow Android users like myself. It's a fantastic app. www.draft.com/chatsports. Use that promo code chatsports. You'll get a free $3 entry, and it is super fast. I mean, you guys will see this once we do our draft. It's going to go by quickly, and we're going to try and take our time here as well.
Yeah,
we're going to use our full clock allotment.
Well, I'll definitely go through. I'll ask you guys who I think we should pick, but it's so convenient that, hey, I do not encourage texting and driving by any means, but you could seriously draft a team while you're sitting at a red light.
You totally could. I mean,
you really could.
You just need 5 minutes of your time here, and I'm sure all of you have 5 minutes of free time to spend.
Yeah.
Maybe you're waiting for your popcorn to finish.
Yeah, or maybe we could be doing a few other things, but.
Yeah. So that's going to go in here. We got about 45 seconds here. So the draft order here, it's a little tough to tell on the screen here, so I'll read it off for you guys as well. Harris is up first with the first overall pick. I'm up here at number 2. Oh, perfect. Look at that.
I got you.
Yeah, he knows the app inside and out already. Mitchell Renz is third, and then producer Brett Scott is behind the scenes.
And now on the mic.
He is on the mic as well here. He is at the turn now. Brett, you weren't super pumped about being at the turn. You didn't really want the 4th pick.
The turn is sometimes good, sometimes bad. We'll see how the first 3 picks go, but I'm ready to go.
Big question for me here is, with only 4 of us, how do you handle the quarterback spot?
I think you can
Always
wait.
the big scorer, but, and this is kind of, I think, true across all fantasy, you can just wait. Like you mentioned,
sure.
you don't have to wait on the quarterback spot here. So Harris is up here.
On the clock, Harris. Let's see it.
We'll see what pick he makes. My money's on Tom Brady here.
You think?
I think he's going to go Brady.
I don't know if I would go Brady. I understand.
I
the
wouldn't go
matchup.
Brady.
But not for like quarterbacks. The amount of depth that's at quarterback.
Called it.
He went Brady.
He went Tom Brady. I called it.
He's such a homer.
I know he is. I know
Such
he
a
is.
homer.
Such a homer.
All right, so now I'm on the clock here. So I am obviously looking here at running back and receiver. Now, I don't love what the pick here that I'm about to go ahead and make here. I'm going to go ahead and take Julio Jones. I think he is due for a bigger game this week going forward. I think the Falcons will make a more determined effort to get him the ball, and I think one of the halfbacks I'm targeting will fall to me here on the next pick.
So I'm looking at
Hoping
running
for, at
backs
least.
as well, and with I don't know if like wide receivers. I'm looking at running backs, but I'm going to go with Le'Veon Bell. I just think ultimately he's going to get worked,
he's gonna get
and
fed.
Steelers are at home, and hey, anytime I get Le'Veon Bell on my team, I'm definitely not going to be upset about it.
All right, producer Brett Scott behind the scenes. For those of you just joining us, we here on NFL Daily are doing a live draft on the Draft app, www.draft.com/chatsports. Use promo code chatsports. You will get a free $3 entry. So Brett here has gone Devonta Freeman with his first pick.
Went Devonta Freeman, got my running back. Like the matchup against the Packers this week.
This is good. One of the 2 halfbacks I was targeting. I feel a little bit better that it'll fall to me.
Well, I think it's interesting. Harris went QB. We both went running back, and now a wide receiver is taken. Is that right?
So I just took 2 running backs.
Oh.
2
my
running
2
backs.
picks.
Kareem Hunt. So now you are back on the clock here. So Brett goes RB to start.
That's interesting. Well, I'm going to go running back again as well, and I'm going to take Ezekiel Elliott against Denver. We saw Denver has an elite defense when it comes to the pass, but they can get beat through the run, and they even got beat a little bit.
That was going to be my pick. So you and I are on the same page there. I think that we know the Cowboys are going to feed Zeke, and I think you're right about that Denver defense. It has some issues against the run there, but my other halfback here is on the board. I actually did think about him with my first overall pick. I also own him in some of my actual leagues, so I'm going LaShawn McCoy. It gets a little bit frustrating owning McCoy because he has those games where he just kind of randomly gets hurt and leaves. But I do know this, he's going to get a ton of volume.
That's what I mean. They should change their name to the Buffalo McCoys. I mean, that guy just gets worked. But I think the interesting strategy that we went with was we knew Harris took a QB, so all of us really took a lot of running backs and wide receivers, thus making that pull a little bit less, and maybe he doesn't get the pick he gets, so that could be a disadvantage for you to take a quarterback.
Harris here has gone rapid fire. A.J. Green and Ty Montgomery go off the board, so I'm on the clock. So what do you think of those picks, Mitchell?
I like A.J. Green. You can't go wrong with A.J. Green. And Ty Montgomery, I think, is an interesting pick. I think it's a good pick because the Falcons gave up the most receptions to running backs last year, and we saw Tariq Cohen go kind of bananas, 8 catches, 47 yards, and a touchdown. So,
couple of receivers I like on the board. So I'm going Melvin Gordon. I'm sticking with my volume strategy, thinking that even against the Dolphins, they're going to feed Melvin Gordon. So my halfbacks right now are Melvin Gordon and LaShawn McCoy. A little iffy at times with some injury histories on both those guys, but I like my picks there. That puts Mitchell on the clock, and then it's going to be back to the turn for Mr. Brett.
I'm going to go with Gronk. I'm going to go with the tight end against New Orleans, and I think the Patriots kind of bounce back this week, and they kind of get maybe a little bit of a revenge game. Gronk gets a few Gronk spikes against a pretty weak, at best, Saints defense. So in the Dome, high-scoring game. I'm taking Gronk.
Weak at best might be nice in the end.
I'm a nice guy.
So producer Brett has made his first pick. He has gone 2 receivers here. You went RB, then receiver. Mike Evans, Jordan Nelson off the board. You seem upset.
I really wanted Nelson because I think that's going to be a high-scoring game in Atlanta. So the fact that that wide receiver was taken is going to be the reason why I'm going to go with my quarterback, and I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers. I think that game is going to be a high-scoring game. Atlanta, Green Bay. So in the Dome again, I'm You can't really go wrong with Rodgers,
So,
can you?
bunch of receivers still on the board here. That's the direction I'm going to end up going here. Maybe this one is a little bit of a reach, I guess, is what we could call it, because Antonio Brown is still on the board. But I don't like that matchup at all. I don't like him going up against Minnesota, even at home. I'm going with Brandon Cooks, and it's all about the matchup play for me.
Revenge game.
Because A, revenge game. B, the Saints defense is horrible. Brady's going to come out fired up. I think Cooks is going to get really involved in this one. I think he's going to have a big game.
I like that. That's popping.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of this one I like an actual pure daily fantasy because he's a little bit cheaper than some of the other guys too. Still expensive, but
does it worry you that he scored 56% of his points in 3 games last year?
Yes, it does.
He's very boom or bust.
It is, but it's daily fantasy. Go big or go home.
Oh, there you go. If you're not first, you're last. Ricky Bobby.
Exactly. So here, let's look at the summary here. Harris has gone Tyreek Hill and Leonard Fournette.
Interesting.
So interesting picks there for Harris. At the end of this show, folks, we'll keep this little recap up here. I felt good about going elsewhere because now I know that I can get Matt Ryan against a not great Packers secondary. Like you said, high-scoring game. I like Matt Ryan. I know producer Brett Scott had his eye on him. He didn't handle the draft right. If he wanted Matt Ryan, he should have taken him earlier.
Good, Tom.
That's true, and I don't really know, to be honest, who I'm going to go with, and it's kind of a tough one for me, and I can feel my phone vibrating a little bit.
8 seconds, 7.
I don't like the matchup, but I'm going to go
5.
Antonio Brown.
At this point, like,
why not?
You're in round 5 of a 4-man league.
Yeah.
He's I think still a safe play.
I definitely think he's a safe play. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking 11 catches on 11 targets for 182 yards last week. I mean, that's there's no doubt about that.
Once again, folks, this little segment here is brought to you by the Draft app, www.com/chatsports. Use the promo code chatsports. You'll get a free $3 entry. Mitchell, we talked about how short these drafts are. We took our time. We tried to make sure that we kind of dragged this out so we could talk about it a little bit. That's all it took for us.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, it is amazing the amount of things that you can get done in a short amount of time, especially with this draft app, and it is super awesome. And the chances of winning are what, like 80% higher?
It's 80% higher than all the other fantasy drafts because you have these smaller versions where you can do a 1v1.
Yeah.
Like if you and me want to do this off the air, we can go do another one. You, me, and Brett did one earlier today.
Are we doing? Is that a bet?
Well, we have a bet though coming here. We're gonna get to some comments, then we're gonna detail the little side bet we have here going on, which you guys watching are involved in. First, a comment here from Jonathan A. Price saying the app looks cool. I agree. I mean, it's sleek, it's easy to use, a fantastic app for fantasy users. Download it today. www.draft.com/chatsports. Use promo code chatsports. You will get a free $3 entry when you sign up with that promo code. There is Harris. We predicted that Tom Brady. Someone picked Mike Evans from him.
I can literally hear him screaming from his apartment.
That was you, right, Brett? You took producer Brett Scott took Mike Evans from Harris. Some more comments here coming in, folks. Get them going in. We'll get to all of them on the air. We have some Twitter questions coming in as well. Lisa asks, with Johnson out indefinitely, which running back would you pick up as a replacement? Williams, Cohen, or Sims? I think she means Charles Sims. I'm going to cross off Charles Sims for you immediately.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about Charles Sims, but out of those, it's Tyreek Cohen, and hey, at least it's thanks for the chat. But no, I think it's Tyreek Cohen. He's we call him the human joystick. 8 catches, 47 yards, and a touchdown. 5 carries for 66 yards, and I don't want to do a total spoiler alert, but he might be in my waiver wire selection article.
He's going to be, and I think that's not a surprise there. We'll talk about waiver wire here in just a little bit. One more time for you guys. Today's show brought to you by Draft. That's www.draft.com/chatsports. Use the promo code chatsports. You'll get a free $3 entry. Here's why you guys should play Draft. You guys want the fun and the excitement of drafting your team without all the hassle of the salary caps and the waiver wire, and that's where Draft comes in. Lets you draft the team whenever you want, anytime. You guys saw how fast that draft was. Takes minutes to complete. It's the highest rated fantasy app in the iOS store and the Play Store for you fellow Android users like myself. You join now, you will get a free $3 entry with a deposit. So what are you waiting for? Go download that app, www.draft.com/chatsports. Use the promo code chatsports, you'll get that $3 entry fee.
That's a sweet deal, man.
Yeah.
You really can't beat that. You really can't.
Super fast. It's awesome there. We'll get to a reaction poll here for our no reaction poll. Excuse me, no reaction poll here for the bet. I know why, because I made an error here, so I will fix that. The bet. Are you excited about this? Because I am.
Well, I mean, I think I have to almost be excited. I mean, is it really betting if you know you're going to win?
All right, Mr. Cocky there.
I mean, is it really? I mean, I don't know. I think that there's no doubt. I don't want to say no doubt, but I'm very confident that I can win this. But
what we're going to do here is once we have this reaction poll fixed up here after I had messed it up at the start of the show here, we will let you guys vote on what the bet is for all 4 of us. So the loser here is going to have to end up taking the bet. We'll come back to that in a little bit. In the meantime here, we will talk now about your waiver wire. These are Mitchell's top ads for this week. The waiver wire coming up tonight for most leagues.
Yep.
And there are the occasional ones that don't make you wait, which interesting. Yeah. But your number 1 ad this week, it's Mr. Tariq Cohen.
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about him before. I mean, he really got used heavily in this Bears game, and I think we can definitely tell that the Bears are probably going to be behind most games this season. And I'll be honest, I think Tariq Cohen looked better on the field. The Bears' offense looked better with Cohen. He looked really good. I don't want to say he looked like Darren Sproles, because I think he could actually be even more than Darren Sproles. He's a little bit bigger, but if I was in a FAB league, so free agent acquisition budget, I'd put about $20 on him on a $100 budget. So he looked good, man. He's definitely the top pick for me.
That's a significant amount of your FAB budget. For those of you that don't understand, do you want to explain to those watching what a FAB is?
So FAB is essentially, instead of just going your waiver wire and being able to pick up any player you want, let's say you came in last place and you get first pick on the waiver wire, FAB takes away all that, where each person bets on players, and it doesn't really reward people for being bad. So it's kind of like an auction, if you will.
Yeah. So Cohen there, I was very impressed by what I saw. I wasn't a huge fan of that pick. I'm like, he's too small school. You have Jordan Howard. I know that they wanted another pass-catching back, but several rookies I'm already ready to say, hey, I was wrong on. Cohen is one of those. You mentioned this in your article. In PPR formats, which is what the rankings here for number 2 fantasy RV are based on, I think he's going to get a ton of catches.
Oh, yeah.
He might outscore Jordan Howard.
Oh, I was kind of saying it this offseason, and I'm going to say it now. I think Tariq Cohen outscores Jordan Howard in PPR leagues just because of the way we see he's used. He's a talented running back, and Jordan Howard can't catch the ball. I don't care. We heard all offseason about his eye surgery, but I believe he's the only running back in NFL history that has 5 drops in a game.
I mean, we saw it against the Falcons. Game-winning touchdown, or likely game-winning touchdown, and suddenly they were down 6, but dropped it. He had it, tried to move before he had the ball, felt the guy coming, dropped the ball. Yeah, cost the Bears big time.
Lack of concentration.
All right, we'll head now to the next player on your waiver wire. This is Mr. Buck Allen. Not his real first name, but I like calling him Buck. It's really Javorius Allen. With Danny Woodhead out, this is why he makes your list.
Well, I think when you see it, last season the Falcons led the NFL with 679 pass attempts, and we see it every year with the Ravens.
Different bird.
Yeah, different bird. We see it every year with the Ravens. They pass the ball to the running backs, and Allen looked pretty good. And anytime I can get a running back who got 21 carries in a game, like we say all the time that the running back needs to get used, and 21 carries, that's somebody who I want to buy into.
This was kind of a fascinating game for Baltimore because they didn't ask Flacco to throw it at all.
Yeah.
Like they ran it a bunch with Allen and West, but when they do throw it with Woodhead out, Allen is the better pass-catching back than Terrence West. So you get that little bonus as well.
For sure.
We mentioned a rookie in Tariq Cohen earlier. Another one here coming up is one Kenny Golladay, a guy that I declared that I missed on in the preseason, and he looked great in the first game. Rookie out of Northern Illinois. He was fantastic this week.
Yeah, and we've heard all offseason the Kenny Golladay hype, and it's been real. And I mean, he played really, really well. And I mean, I think this matchup is a tough one against the Cardinals. And man, look at that catch right there. I mean, he's just totally horizontal, lays out for it, and brings in, that's a big-time play on a big-time stage against a good team. And when you see guys like this making plays like that, he's a guy you need to have on your radar. He could have a big, big season. I mean, they lost Anquan Boldin in the offseason. Anquan Boldin was 3rd in the NFL in red zone targets. That's 22 up in the air. And when you see a guy like this who has 2 touchdowns, he could be their new red zone target.
I think that's what he's going to end up being, which brings into some questions about Eric Ebron, which we can talk more about in the show. I know we talked more about that on Monday in the Overreaction Monday here on NFL Daily. Like the page NFL by Chat Sports, so you'll get notified when we go live so you don't miss anything here that we have to offer you at Chat Sports. Once again, I'm Tom Downey. Alongside me is Mitchell Renz. 2 more waiver wire players that we want to talk about here on today's show. This one is a guy I did not miss on. I love the Cooper Kupp coming out of Eastern Washington. I think he is a fantastic player. I loved what I saw in week 1.
He was a safety blanket, realistically, for Goff. I mean, we saw it this preseason. Goff looked for Kupp, and I mean, he's got solid hands. He's reliable, and I mean, he's a great catcher. I mean, wow, one-handed catch right there. I mean, he does everything very, very well. And when you see a rookie quarterback like Goff, he wants a guy who's more timing, and that's what Kupp brings. Solid hands, 4 catches, 76 yards, 6 targets, and a blowout game. Don't be surprised if Cooper Kupp has the most receptions of all rookie receivers this season.
I loved what I've seen on Cooper Kupp. He's not the most athletic guy. He wasn't that coming out of Eastern Washington, but he was highly productive even against FBS schools. I think he and Jared Goff are going to be best friends going forward. I love him in PPR leagues.
Oh, he's going to be a stud in PPR leagues. Don't be surprised if he has over 80 catches this year.
One more player that we're going to mention here is Kerwin Williams. We had some questions on him already coming in. Does the news of the addition of Chris Johnson, the addition of DJ Foster from yesterday, really affect how you view him?
Yeah, so when we put this together, I was higher on Kerwin Williams, and then, like 2 hours ago, Chris Johnson just got signed. So I think the running back is going to be more of a running back by committee backfield.
Dreaded committee.
Yeah, which is what we're going to see. And the Cardinals right now do not look like a very good team without David Johnson. But if Kerwin Williams is the starter, anytime we have the chance of picking up a running back who is on the top of a depth chart on an NFL team, you have to consider him.
Yeah.
But I would take Tyreek Cohen over him, and there's a few other guys who I would take over him, which you can see the order of players who I'd pick up in my waiver article online. So check it out on Chat Sports.
We were getting questions leading up to the year like, hey, who's the handcuff to take for David Johnson? And I was just kind of like, just don't. Like, it's not going to be a good situation there. It's going to be a committee. Kerwin's going to get work. Andre Ellington will kind of be, I think, the third down back.
Yeah.
And we know the Cardinals have to throw it to their halfback. So I don't think this is a great situation at all.
Yeah, I'm actually not a big fan of handcuffs. I think we play fantasy football to win, and if you're taking the handcuff to David Johnson, you're only taking that because he probably got hurt.
And then what happens? Let's say if David Johnson didn't get hurt, you would have been in week 2. You would have had Kerwin Williams go, oh, well, I'm just going to cut him and sign Tyreek Cohen. Wasted pick there.
Bingo.
So that was your waiver wire update here again, folks. Download the Chat Sports app. You'll get notified each week once we get that waiver wire article out, courtesy here of my friend Mitchell Renz. That's chatsports.com/app. A great app, also a great app, the Draft app. You guys saw it earlier in today's show. The live draft just took minutes to do. If you love daily fantasy, you guys should be playing Draft. Draft is the new snake draft fantasy app. Highlights what we love so much about live fantasy sports. It's all about the draft itself. It lets you draft team whenever you want, anytime. No worries about the salary caps, the waiver wire that we just talked about it. You make your picks. That's your team. You see how you do that week. You don't have to worry about really injuries long term. They'll kill you that week, but you can start all over again next week. So get it today, www.draft.com/chatsports. Use the promo code ChatSports. You'll get a free $3 entry in one of those drafts, and 80% better chance to win than some of the other daily fantasy sites.
What does that mean? I mean, 80% of the time, you win every time. I mean, I don't know. It is such an amazing app, and the chances of winning are so much better. And I mean, maybe not for like you and I. I mean, we're pretty good at fantasy, but maybe producer Brad. I mean, those are probably better odds for him. So, I don't know. It's a great app. Download it. Seriously, you guys are gonna love it. If you're a fantasy fanatic like me, follow me on Twitter at MitchellRenz365. But if you are a fantasy fanatic, you're gonna love the app. I guarantee that.
All right, you just mentioned there at MitchellRenz365. The next segment here on today's show is Ask Mitchell Live. We have some Twitter questions that came in earlier using that hashtag Ask Mitchell Live. Use the hashtag right, folks.
Yeah, let's use the hashtag.
You were very frustrated there a little bit.
Oh, it's in the directions. We just got to read. It's not that it's difficult, but ask Mitchell Live.
Now, if you didn't get the questions up on Twitter, you can get them in the comments section. We can bring them up throughout the show. Producer Brett Scott will take care of that behind the scenes. So get those comments in. Any questions you got on fantasy football, if you got general NFL, get them in the comments section as well. We are here to answer all of those questions. Again, folks, this is Ask Mitchell Live. We just kind of mentioned the waiver wire portion here. We have another little waiver wire question in, and this I think was actually my favorite one. Of the Twitter ones that I've seen before today's show, this one was my favorite one because it's one we don't get a lot. And this one coming in from Don Julio, a.k.a. @Cam Canyon, says, Who is the best Week 1 waiver wire pickup that will essentially cost 0 fab? I mean, the budget, they don't have to put any money on him.
Yeah.
He's basically free right now.
That's a great question. And the guy who I'm going to go with is running back Mike Tolbert. And the reason why it's Mike Tolbert is because we see all the time, like you and I said, McCoy gets hurt a lot.
Yeah.
And with that offense, he had a great week, 12 carries, 42 yards, and a touchdown. But what I love most about that is the last 2 years, 2015 and 2016, the backup running back to McCoy, both of those seasons had 8 touchdowns. And Tolbert's a touchdown monster. He's a vulture.
He's the ultimate vulture, and it upset me because I have LaShawn McCoy on my fantasy team, and I'm thinking like, hey, look, I know what's going to happen. Tolbert's going to vulture you. So I think he's a great, absolutely desperation play in deeper leagues when there's just no one available.
For sure.
A guy like Tolbert, obviously you're banking on a TD, but that's kind of all he does right now.
I mean, what else can the Bills do besides run the ball? They're going to run the ball a lot, and McCoy might get 25 carries. Tolbert could also get 10 carries a game. And we've seen the Bills the last 2 seasons lead the league in rush attempts, rushing touchdowns. So, good pick.
Some more questions here coming in. This one here from Christopher Stacks. He is in a 2-quarterback league. His starters right now are Carson Palmer, Andy Dalton. I'm sure he lost Week 1. That was a pretty rough slate there. So, apologies there for you, Chris. He's got some different waiver wire options. Some of the more notable ones: the Sean Kaiser. He's got Trevor Siemian, Jared Goff, Alex Smith. So what's your advice for him going forward? And if you do want to pick someone up here, who should it end up being?
Well, out of the names of the people you listed, I like the upside of Kaiser because of his running ability. Goff looked better, but it still was the Colts. And Alex Smith, yes, threw for 368 yards, 4 touchdowns, but I don't really expect that to happen every single week. Excuse me. But out of the names of Palmer and out of the names of Dalton, I'm still sticking with Dalton and Palmer above those guys like Smith, Kaiser, and everybody you listed. So go with Dalton.
Alex Smith had very much that big old Week 1 there. Andy Dalton was really bad, but nowhere to go but up.
Yeah,
look on the bright side, folks.
That's very true. I mean, normally Andy Dalton can't play at night or in the playoffs, but he's also historically bad against in-division teams. And that Ravens defense looked good. Like, they are a good defense.
I actually don't mind Deshaun Kaiser going forward.
Okay.
I think there's some upside there, but I agree. I want to give Palmer another week. I think Dalton is only going to play better, especially as that offensive line kind of gels and improves. Sure. I like Kaiser because of the ground ability.
Yeah, and I mean,
that's a boost there.
Also, like, the Browns didn't look like a total dumpster fire like we're used to seeing. I mean, we just released our NFL Power Rankings article, which you guys should definitely check out at chatsports.com/app. I mean, I think it was the first time I ever did a power rankings, and the Browns weren't in the bottom 5. Like, it was nice to see, but
they showed some ability.
The Steelers have a good defense, adding guys like Joe Hayden, and the fact that Kaiser led the Browns to only lose by 3 points. I mean, I think that's kind of positive.
Promising sign. All right, more questions here coming in from Twitter using that hashtag AskMitchellLive. He asks, keep Fleener or get a guy like Cameron Braid or Austin Hooper off the waiver wire. I was surprisingly impressed by what I saw out of Kobe Fleener. Good.
He's been decent. Like, the last 4 seasons, he has over 50 catches all 4 of those years. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
And now when we see Willie Snead's out for another 2 weeks, he's kind of a reliable option over the middle. Fleener could be, and the Saints are going to need to pass, and they have a good matchup against the Patriots. And Patriots linebackers did not look good Week 1, so Fleener could be a sneaky guy. But when I think about Hooper, I mean, 2 catches on 128 yards, you can't rely on that.
No, that's not repeatable.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope not.
We always say don't chase touchdowns. That Hooper touchdown is not one you want to keep chasing going forward. You see that big eye points, and you go, oh, he's going to do it again. Yeah. Probably not.
Yeah, I'd be willing to bet my entire apartment that Austin Hooper doesn't have another 2 for 128 catch game in his career.
What do I have to bet in exchange? Because that seems like pretty good win for me in return.
Yeah, I mean, you can bet. It's not going to happen.
And you see the stat line for Austin Hooper: 2 catches, 120 yards in the TD. Great touchdown.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of people. And one more thing on Fleener here as well that I want to mention. Bill Belichick loves to take away the opposing team's best player. That's not Fleener. That's probably going to be Michael Thomas. That should open up more for Fleener. I think he's kind of a sneaky play. If you're playing daily fantasy, maybe Fleener's a really cheap guy. Maybe you snag him.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to be highly owned. He's definitely a guy that a lot of people don't really like the name of Fleener, so people stay away from him. But Kobe Fleener, he gets targets.
Some Facebook comments here coming in. This one from Charles Clark. He asked, start Christian McCaffrey or Jonathan Stewart?
Until I see Jonathan Stewart go away, I'm going to start Jonathan Stewart now. I'll start Stewart in a standard league. McCaffrey probably in a PPR. He's probably going to get more catches, but I wrote it in my one article this past week, and Jonathan Stewart's going to get the carries. He's going to get the attempts, and I don't know, until I see more out of McCaffrey getting the ball, I'm starting Stewart.
Some more Twitter questions here coming in. This one from Jason Quinn asks, other than Baltimore, Cincinnati, and the Cardinals defense, who are your top streaming defenses? I only hear this one too because I just stream defenses, because I refuse to spend anything more than a 16th round pick on my defense. I just don't do it.
Well, that's smart. I mean, when there's teams like the Jets and the Colts out there, that's the reason why you stream defenses.
Yeah.
So whoever's playing the Colts, whoever's playing the Jets, that's the defense you stream, and until otherwise.
Cardinals are playing the Colts this week. The Raiders are playing the Jets. So
Start them.
I think the Raiders are kind of that under the radar stream.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, but you're probably going to have a good week if you're playing the Jets.
I'm
Worst quarterback
sure
situation.
Oakland is available on your waiver wire. That's a defense that should definitely be there. Arizona,
yeah, maybe not.
Maybe not so much. I don't mind the Cincy pick there he included there. I think that's a pretty, against a rookie quarterback with a not great offensive line. I don't love it. I think it's probably the least of my ones on there, but I don't mind that option.
Yeah, that's true. But also, when I want a quarterback who I think could possibly throw picks. Now, if Savage is starting, yeah.
Oh yeah, no brainer.
There's definitely an option there. But since he's defense, I don't know. I'm not really crazy about it. But if Savage is starting there, yeah, it's definitely a reliable option.
More Twitter questions here coming in. This one from Enrique asks, he's in desperate need of a receiver. Trade question here. So who would you trade? Devonta Freeman, Zeke Elliott, Kareem Hunt, Dalvin Cook, and Abdullah for Mike Evans / OBJ. So I guess who do you think you could actually trade to get them? Because I don't think no one's going to take Amir Abdullah for one of those two.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about Evans and OBJ. I mean, OBJ.
Some deep halfbacks though.
Yeah, no, but I mean, out of those guys, Cook could be a guy you could sell high on. He just had 127 yards, and on Monday night, a lot of times if a guy goes off on Monday night, it's kind of like the highlight game spotlight. More people are tuned in, so maybe they could see it. Maybe you could try to flip him, but I think the ultimate sell high guy right now is Kareem Hunt. I like Kareem Hunt. I think he's going to be solid. I actually did a poll for a dynasty league, David Johnson or Kareem Hunt, and Kareem Hunt won pretty easily. So his stock is definitely high right now. And if you
hype train right now is all over Kareem Hunt.
That's what I mean. I mean, he had a great week, 3 touchdowns, 250 total yards. So he's a really talented guy, and he definitely burned me in a few leagues this week. But
yes, he did.
No, I would say maybe try to get Kareem Hunt for Mike Evans or OBJ.
Wayne Pruitt asks, keep Robert Kelly or grab one of the Cardinals halfbacks.
Wow, that's a weird picture of Wayne and I in high school. That's that is scary. But I would keep Rob Kelly. He's still the main guy for Washington, and we don't really know what the running back situation is going to be like in Arizona. So.
Samaje Perine did nothing in week 1.
Yeah, I still think Perine is the best running back in that backfield. I think Rob Kelly, there's a reason why his nickname is Fat Rob. It's because he's a glorified fullback. Yeah. But Samaje Perine, his NFL comp for me is Michael Turner, big legs, strong guy, and I think it's only a matter of time before the Redskins coaches see that, just like everybody else in the entire.
They hate fumbling. If Fat Rob fumbles once or twice, he's done.
Well, luckily
we saw it with Matt Jones.
Yeah, well, luckily Fat Rob's not a fumbler, but Perine struggled a little bit this preseason, but I think he'll turn it around.
Another question here coming in asks, do I take Cohen or Williams to replace David Johnson? I think I know your answer.
It's Cohen. It's not even. It's a no-brainer for me.
Especially in PPR.
Especially in PPR. We don't know what Williams is going to do. We don't know if he's going to be the lead back. Bruce Arians doesn't really like to lean on younger guys as much unless they're absolute studs, and I think there's a reason why he brought back Chris Johnson. But Tariq Cohen's going to be used in games. I don't really see the Bears winning much, which means Cohen's going to be in the game.
This one coming in from @TheRickRosen says, does Corey Davis have long-term value, or should I try and put him on the trade block?
Oh, I definitely think he has long-term value. He's a stud. He's an elite route runner, elite hands, and when you're talking about pairing him with a guy, you're talking about long-term value with a young guy who you can build chemistry with, like Marcus Mariota. That could be a deadly combination for many years to come.
I got him in my dynasty league.
See,
I got Corey Davis in there. I couldn't agree more with you. When I look at a guy who has the long-term value that you're looking for, Corey Davis is one of the best examples I can point to, because he didn't play much in the preseason. He still put up, I think it was 12 fantasy points because he had 6 catches for, I think, 69 yards is what it was, something
Led the team in targets. That's important. He led the team in targets.
Super important as well. He and Marcus Mariota are going to be a dynamic tandem. I also have Mariota on my fantasy team.
I got that
1-2 punch in my dynasty league there.
There you go.
Another question here coming in from Nick says, who are your top receiver pickups for this week? Brandon Marshall, Jordan Matthews didn't play well for him. We mentioned Galladay and Kupp. Is there anyone else on your list that you're targeting?
I do like Galladay and Kupp. Those are definitely the top two receivers. But also the guy who I would consider adding is Nelson Aguilar. And I think it's funny because you put Jordan Matthews in this. I think the reason why the Eagles got rid of Jordan Matthews is because of Nelson Aguilar. Mm-hmm. Nelson Aguilar coming out of USC was a receiver who had a lot of hype.
He's fast. He can fly.
He could run, which is definitely part of the Chip Kelly regime. But Aguilar was dealing with a lot of confidence issues the first 2 years, and you heard all offseason about how he kind of has figured it out a little bit. He found himself, and he looked good week 1, 6 catches, 86 yards, and a touchdown. And I believe he was the leading target getter for the Eagles, which is a big sign.
Alshon Jeffrey was pretty quiet. I think you're right.
Yeah? Well, it doesn't surprise me. Alshon Jeffrey is not the guy I like. But, Nick, if you're out there, I would definitely pick up Nelson Aguilar over Jordan Matthews.
Again, folks, today's show is brought to you by Draft. Visit www.draft.com/chatsports. Use promo code chatsports. You will get a free $3 entry. It's everything that I love so much about the fantasy. It's the draft part. That's my favorite part. I love being able to draft. It takes 5 minutes. It's all you need. You have the free entry now. Download it. 5 minutes to draft. It's so perfect. The app is awesome. That's why it's the highest rated fantasy app on the iOS store and the Play Store. Lets you draft anytime you want. Snake fantasy drafts, a couple of minutes. We did one earlier on the show. I enjoyed it. That'll be a weekly segment here. A fun little way to kind of say, hey, here are the top players overall in fantasy for all of our fellow daily fantasy players. Again, that is www.draft.com/chatsports. Use that promo code chatsports. You'll get a free $3 entry. Hey, we mentioned it earlier, it's just like Christmas, over and over again.
I think the best part about the draft also is the trash talking that goes into it. I mean, we were trash talking Brett. Heck, Harris isn't even here, and we were trash talking him. So it's so much fun just to bicker with each other, be like, oh, that's not a good pick. But, man, the app is quick, it's fun, it's easy, and I don't know. Yeah. We're probably going to do a draft after this. We've already been talking about it.
Here's the bet that we have for this week for the loser. And Harris isn't aware of this, but too bad, Harris, you're doing this bet as well. The loser of our 4-man daily fantasy play here via the draft app has to wear a Joe Flacco jersey on air.
Oh, that's mean. Like nobody should have to do that.
See, friend of the show, Cam Rogers, host of the Cam Rogers Show, that is on the Chat Sports Facebook page, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, is for some reason a big Joe Flacco fan. He is just wrong.
There's so many things that I would rather do than wear a Joe. Like Joe Flacco is my mortal enemy.
This is why we're wearing the Joe Flacco jersey.
I don't even think this is fair, just because you guys know how much I dislike Joe Flacco.
See,
this is hard.
Just think how great this will be. We come back on here on Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern, every day. We'll bring up Flacco. You'll be wearing a Flacco jersey. How great is that?
I will not be wearing a Flacco jersey.
If Brett loses, we'll get some kind of producer cam, and we'll get him wearing the Flacco jersey. We'll make Harris come on. We're on this show or a different show here with a Flacco jersey. It's lose-lose for everyone involved.
I just don't think anybody should have to wear a Flacco jersey.
James Yoder asks, question for Mitch and me, is Joe Flacco elite? I think that's a pretty easy question. It's no.
Yeah, I mean, it's no. The fact
it's no.
This question, man, I'm telling you what.
One of my favorite Twitter polls that I ever did was about Joe Flacco. And it was pick a QB, blind sample. Here are his stats, passing only. It was Flacco was wildly outvoted. There were 4 options. It was Blake Bortles, Osweiler, Flacco, and Kaepernick.
Exactly.
Flacco came in 3rd. Kaepernick, by the way, won by a resounding margin. It was like 72% voted for Kaepernick.
Well, he's probably the best quarterback out of all those.
So you heard it here. We do not like Joe Flacco. He is not elite, James.
Far from it.
Very, very far from it. He picked the right time to peak. But since then,
he's on a good defense, and he is yet to be able to lead that team to anything. So,
all right, that is going to do it for us today. Again, a big thank you to today's sponsor, Draft. Check them out, www.draft.com/chatsports. Use that promo code chatsports. You'll get a free $3 entry. That will do it for us today. For producer Brett Scott, that's Mitchell Renz. I'm Tom Downey. You stay classy out there.